Welcome to the July 24th, 2018 meeting of Pequannock Township Council. Ms. Marsh.
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me in a pledge of allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for individuals serving our nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and the general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
The clerk will please call the roll.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Hurd?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Mayor Winfield?
Here. There are no presentations, so we'll go right on to reports from volunteers. At this time, are the reports or comments from any volunteer serving our community? Nope. Next on the agenda is public comments. This public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period of public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized, to come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. Frank.
Frank Spazzeri, 35 West Franklin Avenue, Pequannock Township. I don't usually complain, but when you come off of Route 23 south and going towards the boulevard, you know, when you make that turn, between 3:30 and 5:30, it's bedlam on that particular spot because the people coming out of West Parkway block the intersection, and you can't get around the people that are making the left-hand turn to go beyond them to get in. Is there any way we can have, I know it's state, probably belongs to the state, you know, like in New York they have don't block the box, or something to that effect, because we were backed out all the way out to Route 23 because you can't get by them, and you can't even go around them to go to the other side because there's a big line of traffic that way, unless you go West Parkway. But you know,
and then
most
your car
people
gets rattled going over all the bumps in West Parkway.
Plus, that's a problem with all the ambulances
I know,
coming down,
but
too.
you know, you could go that way, but most people want to make that turn so that if the people are making a left, you can get around them and get onto the boulevard.
And technically, you should be able to go right around and onto the boulevard, but all
That's
those
correct.
cars start backing up on.
Right. But you're right.
Yeah, but
if
the
they're
people
from
from
the
what-
area and they know, they'll leave the spot open. But if they don't know and they're not from the area,
then they get
There's-
stuck.
There's
Just
nothing
get
there
line
to
of
tell them
traffic.
not to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
They
don't
just
know what
figure,
to
well,
do.
okay,
Unless you could put
this
some-
guy's going to
That
cut
whole
me
area.
off. I want to get there before he does, you know? So if we have some kind of either a sign or something painted on the thing, do not block this intersection or something like that, just,
Traffic circles are an interesting thing to begin with, and then
Yeah.
insert state jurisdiction, it gets even more interesting. I'll follow up with Joe Golden, the township engineer. He can reach out to the state to see what may or may not be allowed.
yeah, I don't know what they can do, but
That
We'll
whole
give it a good
area
try.
is a nightmare. Even if you're going on 23 heading north, the people that are coming around, they don't think they have the yield. They just come right
Yeah,
in
they're
there.
just like
yeah,
barreling through there.
that's true too. Right, they do that also.
That is a crazy intersection.
Anyway, that's all my complaint
Oh,
for tonight.
we
Thank
can
you.
say our piece and see what happens.
Rachel Horsting, 15 William Street, Pequannock. I've been a lifelong resident, 53 years, and as a child, I went to PV Park probably until I was 18, 19. I come from a family of 6 kids. My mom used to take us there all the time. Now, since I've been here in this town, we've never had a drowning in Pequannock PV Park. The death of Sienna 2 years ago was a tragedy. But there's more of a travesty going on with this lawsuit that seems nobody wants to discuss. And I understand there's matters that you can't discuss, but it's a slippery slope. And basically, I want the town and the lawyers to understand that the lawyer that they have is the #1 attorney in the state of New Jersey for drownings and wrongful death. The highest paid was $10 million, and that was the lawyer. That was for a 7-year-old. Now, this is a 3-year-old. And, you compound the fact that we also gave this family, the town donated $38,000 plus 6 months of meals. I understand this is definitely a tragedy, but no loss, no money is going to bring back this child. And everybody seems to be forgetting, and I'm going to say the town and the town lawyers and the town mayor and everybody's forgetting, what about the lifeguards? What about the tragedy that happened to these lifeguards? I was talking to one last night, and literally they said they stopped being a lifeguard, they went to counseling. No one gave a damn about them. And then to find out that their name is in a lawsuit, they didn't even know about it. And so I guess I don't think we should settle, because right now it seems like we're going to settle just to push it away. But you've got to understand there's 2 parents there. This was a 3-year-old with no swimmies on, no floaty devices, nothing. As soon as the lifeguards heard about it, they immediately did put into action. And if you read the complaint, and some of you already know, I'm an attorney, I'm just not a litigator. I know you have to put in a whole bunch of, sometimes garbage, but to sit here and say these lifeguards failed to respond, failed to supervise, failed to act timely. Well, if I'm the mother, I lost my child, I look, can't find her, I go notify a lifeguard, that's about 2 to 3 minutes to do. And we all know it takes 30 seconds for a little 3-year-old to drown. And so basically, I just want to brought to the attention of the town, and I'm trying to do it on Facebook, that we should not be settling for this. It's not going to bring this little girl back. And all you're doing is creating a slippery slope for other lawsuits to happen. You take all the sports this town does, and it's great for kids. But then if a kid gets hurt on a baseball field because there's a pile of rocks next to second base, and whoever the landscaper was forgot to notify, hey, there's a pile of rocks, are the parents going to sue because now their child has a permanent scar on their leg? And it is far-fetched. But if you're a money-hungry person, and they know Pequannock will settle, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to sue just because we've already set the precedent. And then the last point is, what about the taxpayers? We all know the insurance is going to pay out. At the end of the day, it's going to be our insurance rates are going to go up, which means the taxpayers' taxes are going to go up to pay the insurance. Do you think it's fair for all the residents to pay the taxes in addition? I would vote no. I don't think my taxes should pay for some mother and father who failed to supervise their 3-year-old child. And unfortunately, it is what it is. But there's 2 of them, according to the complaint, 2 of them there to supervise their 3-year-old daughter.
I don't know if you can address the legality of it.
Well, I can only say a couple of things. As you know, our obligation was to turn it over to our insurance carrier, which is, of course, is what we have to do. We are part of an insurance fund, so your point is well taken. Our insurance company pays money. People like to say, well, it's an insurance company paying it, but the reality is, and we know that, it comes back to us. Right. Maybe not directly dollar for dollar, but the reality
we're going to have to dish out.
But the reality is, it has an impact on the township and our insurance rates overall when we have claims. So the concern on that ground is well founded. We, though, as you know, have no choice but to turn it over to our insurance company and leave it in their capable hands to determine how to move forward with it.
The only problem with that is that's a little bit of a. In reality, you do, because you're paying your insurance. So to leave it to your insurance to settle, to take over, it's in their best interest not to settle, but at the same time, yes, it can be a win-win for them.
It might very well be in their best interest not to settle, and some insurance companies take that position for the very reason you're saying. They'll have to make that decision. I'm sure they'll seek some input from us, and we'll offer that input. But the reality is that's. It is an insurance issue. I do have to comment, and I don't think you meant it this way. When you said the township has done nothing for the lifeguards, I do want to just state publicly that our new township manager did in fact arrange for a meeting with the insurance company and the lifeguard.
Okay, the lifeguard I talked to, they hadn't talked to
just for the opportunity to
I
hear.
apologize.
That's okay. And I know you didn't mean it that, but I know in general it's absolutely something we're sensitive.
Are we setting up a fund for any of these lifeguards? I mean, if in all honesty, we gave $38,000 to this family, and again, I know money is never going to bring this little girl back.
He's not.
But you look at some of these lifeguards who were 16, 17, or the guy who tried to save her. I think he was 21.
Yeah.
You know, are we giving them anything, kind of saying, hey, you know what? We know you're going to be screwed up for a couple of years, and it does affect you. I mean, my friend committed suicide in college. I spent a whole entire night with her. She said she's fine. I said, okay, I'm going to go take a test. I took my test for my finals. I came back and she killed herself. You know, and fine, I can deal with it now. But I think for a year and a half, 2 years later, it was just like, okay, you know, I left you alone for 1 hour.
I do know the township did commit resources after the event.
Yes, we did.
After the event happened, and the township has continued to commit resources in terms of this litigation. It's unfortunate. I think I agree with you, it was a low blow to name those people individually.
Well,
particularly people that weren't even there. But that is the reality of our system.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to tell them right now, you know, make a motion to get your name taken off and waste everybody's time.
Yeah.
Just because it is awful. If one of my nieces or nephews was on this, I'd be fighting it tooth and nail.
Sure.
I wouldn't care what anybody tells me. You know, it's not going to bring the girl back, and I'm not trying to be cold and heartless, but I'm more concerned about, hey, the ramifications down the road. As I said, I think it's a slippery slope for any parent in this town, and you know this town is everybody loves this town because of what you do for our kids. It's a slippery slope because if parents know that you can sue for something that was totally not the lifeguard's fault, then they're going to start bringing up suits all over the place because they're going to feel, well, the town paid out once, let's do it again.
I'm certain that those are concerns our insurance fund is well aware of and considers when they try to make decisions, and they try to do the best they can making decisions. I can only say that in terms of the lifeguards, there is a sensitivity to the fact that, you know, the township does have an obligation to them at this point in time to deal with this lawsuit, and our insurance fund recognizes that and has gone out of their way to try to do that.
Well, I think
that's the best we're going to be able to do. I don't disagree with you, but it's
no, as I said, I didn't have your email, otherwise I would have emailed you, because I know I emailed Council, and I know Dave, you got spared, so.
Well, the one thing I have to say, the insurance, because of the way it is set up, I think they are going to try to fight as much as they can and push back as much as they can. It's not like it's private insurance where they're going to just pay out and make it go away. It's not like that.
Well, as I said, he's got a reputation. I mean, as I said, I'm an attorney, so I did a little bit of research. He's got a good track record of really doing, you know, tearing people apart. And again, I'm going to look at the lifeguard who tried to save her. You know, they're just going to rip him apart, and it's a sad, just because, again, you know, I don't understand. I've talked to numerous people, and they all said the same thing. Lifeguards aren't there to babysit your kids. You're supposed to watch your kids. It happens. You know, my mother readily admits she lost my little sister at Fire Island, and she readily admits it was all her fault. No, I was only 9, so I shouldn't have to watch my little sister. But, you know, it was her responsibility. And I think in this town, other people have died in this town for different reasons, and lawsuits didn't happen. Nobody turned around and sued the town for different deaths that all occurred in this town. And even you look at the amount of money that was, you know, given to this family that town donated to her, to that family for the 3-year-old, but the lady who lost her husband, who committed suicide literally 6 months later, who took his 2 kids and jumped over a bridge, they survived, he died. The town really didn't do too much for her. You know, they gave little amount of money was given in a GoFundMe page, and she now has to support her 2 kids. But this lady, her 3-year-old, dies, And, everybody was like, oh, let's give her everything under the sun. Let's give them 6 months of meals, gift cards for dinner, but we didn't do anything else for this family who lost a husband.
Your points are well taken. They're very well taken, and we hear you. And anything we ever have our input, we appreciate your input, and I'm sure you speak for a lot of people.
I'm probably the only one who has enough guts to.
Yeah. But we appreciate
voiced the opinion and took a lot of crap on Facebook for it, but I was okay with it.
Well, thank you for coming forward and sharing.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? No? Okay. We'll move on. Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I got a good amount of things to report on, so I'll do my best to be brief and cover the groundwork.
They're all interesting. Go ahead.
Thank you. Following up from items from the last meeting, and there was a lot of discussion this week from residents last week from residents because of the fireworks that took place at the castle. There were 2 fireworks shows in 1 week. I think a lot of the fear is fear of the unknown, and is this going to be twice a week for every week? I think there were some concerns expressed about the fact that the fireworks shows were going off at 9:45, 9:50. One of them was on a Wednesday evening, so I appreciated all the feedback that I got from people. I've been working with Mr. Oostdijk to research potential options, discussing things, and we're looking to see what we can do to move forward to deal with that. With respect to the morning wedding event that previously had received a lot of comment, we've been working with the castle. My understanding is that the event where we had staff on site to give live feedback was much better received than it had been previously. So we're working in the right direction. Are we there yet? No. The evolution of activities at the council is continuing, and we're continuing with the feedback. Mr. Hillen continues to dialogue regularly with me. Even on that Saturday morning, we had a good conversation. So we'll continue our efforts, and we'll continue reviewing the fireworks moving forward to see what can be done. With respect to Mountain Avenue paving, the last meeting I received a question of when is that anticipated. It's currently anticipated for August 6th, 2018, that week. Obviously, that's weather permitting. There are a lot of storms we've already had this week, a lot of storms we're expecting, so weather, other influences may push that back, but that was the plan as of the report that I provided on July 20th. Pequannock Avenue traffic, there was a resident here who had some concerns about people driving very quickly with the cut-through. We've established dedicated enforcement that's already taken place. There's going to be additional signage posted, and the engineering department and police department are going to work together to study to see if there's something that should be done, whether a stop sign or any other traffic calming measure. The water main break on Jacksonville Road, for which there is an ordinance scheduled for the council's consideration this evening to fund, repairs will begin the week of July 30th, so that's next week. Again, that's weather permitting. There were materials that needed to be ordered that needed to come in that were specialty items, so it took a little while to get that moving.
And they'll be doing the bridge at the same time on Sunset?
Either them or somebody else will be happening. We think it may be them because of their experience. One of the challenges for the bridge on Sunset, or the water main break on Sunset, is because it abuts a county bridge. It's not as simple as paving in a normal circumstance might be.
Well, that's getting deeper. The holes there where the dirt is, it's getting deeper. Yeah,
I can have that addressed tomorrow.
Yeah, because I go out that way every time for work, and it's deeper. It's deeper, and you can't really straddle it.
That will definitely be addressed temporarily, and then the permanent solution will hopefully take place next week. With respect to security at Mountainside Park, Councilman Hurd referenced some things he uncovered when he was up hiking. Met with the Public Works Department, Police Department, and Recreation Department to discuss the best way to, address that in the immediate term and as well as the long-range term. Additional patrols from the park rangers are going to go out. The Police Department is challenging because of the terrain to get there, but we'll look at other solutions that might require funding in the 2019 budget. Teen Advisory Committee, Mr. Garcia, the chairman of the Teen Advisory Committee, came forward with some ideas that were also amplified by members of council to discuss things for teens to do. Mr. Garcia, I understand, is enjoying things abroad, so good for him, but I reached out to him looking to schedule a meeting. I spoke with one of their advisors, who's always kind enough to be present, in an effort to go meet with that group, so that'll be set up in the near future. This evening, as mentioned, this is a new ordinance. There's an ordinance designating the QPA for potential adoption. As previously discussed at the prior meetings, it's an unusual component of New Jersey law that requires a non-necessary position to be appointed by ordinance. I believe it's in New Jersey. The ordinance amending the chapter for sewers is scheduled for public hearing and potential adoption this evening. Just to reiterate, that's a clarification of the timeframes where there's a discrepancy in two different sections of the municipal code. From the Flood Advocate report, there's a more detailed report from Ms. McCulloch attached to my memo, but on a 10,000-foot view, 7 homes that were included in the 2015 grant began construction the week of July 23rd. An additional 4 homes from the 15 grant and 4 homes from the 16 grant will begin construction in August. Work has begun for the 2018 FEMA grant. I know Ms. McCulloch has had contact with a number of residents. We're looking for the best way to prioritize the severe repetitive loss and the repetitive loss homes in order to score as best as possible on the grant application, which we anticipate to open sometime in October.
I think now that we're starting to get started on this, people are starting to ask more and become interested. And I get questions from people like, when am I next? When am I next? I guess after you go through this, maybe is there some kind of timeline where we could map out what we think we're doing for years to come? Or is it just year by year?
I think unfortunately it's subject to the funding from Congress.
Okay.
So I think it's year by year. The best point of contact is Ms. McCulloch. I'll compliment Mr. Holberg, my predecessor, and the council for hiring her. She's an asset to the community, and she's very responsive. So if people have specific questions, give them her name and her telephone number, which I don't have available, but I can make available. She follows up with everybody I ask her to follow up with.
Yeah, it's good. It's here.
There's a resolution scheduled to authorize the use of competitive contracting. That may be somewhat of a new thing for the Township of Pequannock. Competitive contracting is a source selection method for certain services that are allowable by law. The ones articulated in the resolution are primarily professional services. And what it allows to have happen is the establishment of a review committee that takes a look at people who are going to be potentially providing services and evaluates them not just on cost. We all talk about bids and the lowest responsible bidder. Competitive contracting, which can't be used for biddable services, but for other services, it allows a group to get together, do a good evaluation, and make a recommendation for award to the council based upon their technical management and cost experience. So that's something that is a resolution for the services need to be done once for the entity and is good in perpetuity. So that's scheduled for your consideration this evening. With respect to competitive contracting, the reason it's scheduled tonight is I'm hoping to use that for the source selection method for the planner to do the master plan. I spoke to the planning board last Monday, gave them an update on where we were with respect to the master plan and the process. Obviously, it is the planning board's document, so I wanted to solicit their input.
And that is different than the planner for the town?
Correct. This is a planner for the master plan.
Right.
The planning board was kind enough to recommend 4 names, so enough that it was not a quorum, to participate in the competitive contracting review committee. If possible, and the council sees fit, I'd like to have 2 members of council participate that along with myself. What will ultimately be involved is the review of the request for proposals, which is in draft form and is completed in my office today. And then ultimately we put on the website for a fair and open process. It will be noticed. And once we receive the proposals, that group would be involved in the review of the proposals, the potential interview of the professionals, and ultimately a recommendation of award to the planning board to move forward. So moving forward, or whenever the council may see fit, if I could have 2 names for that. Mentioned briefly the Jacksonville water main bond ordinance, $225,000. I know there's been some discussion about that cost. Obviously, whenever you have a water main break in Pequannock Township that requires the use of outside resources, it's a significant issue. It's not a typical water main break. This break happens to be 12 feet down, significant in length, and in a portion of pipe that's encased in concrete. So it is not a simple water main break where a hole can be dug and the pipe can be exposed, cut, collar or Band-Aid installed, backfilled, and then we have water restored within 8 hours. Unfortunately, this is a different animal, which is why the cost is so significant and why the bond ordinance is recommended the rate it is. And lastly, within my report, Several meetings ago, there was discussion about the township's policy of carry in and carry out for garbage in the parks. A survey was announced. We've had a lot of people participate in it. That survey closes on July 31st.
It's still open.
It's still open, so I want to make sure I mention that before the end of the month. People have an opportunity to comment. We're going to digest that data and have a future discussion with council about moving forward. Staff will be included with their recommendation, and ultimately a decision can be made or planned for 2019, because if a decision is made to go away from it, we need time to order materials, deploy those materials. Obviously, if the decision is made to keep the policy in place, we wouldn't need to do that.
Or some kind of combination.
Or a hybrid thereof. Whatever options may be explored, there'll be a lot.
Okay, thank
If there's any questions on my report, I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Anybody have questions now, or you want to wait till we go through?
Whatever your pleasure.
Okay, all right. Next on the agenda, public hearing on ordinance 2018-15. Ms. Marsh?
Ordinance 2018-15 is an ordinance designating a qualified purchasing agent for the Township of Pequannock.
Are there any comments from council? No. No? Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. If anyone in the audience has questions or comments on this ordinance, please come to the microphone, identify yourself for the record. Okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2018-15.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Next on the agenda is public hearing ordinance 2018-16. Are there any comments?
No.
No?
Wait, I have to read it.
Go ahead.
What'd you say?
Just to read it.
Clerk has to read.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. Come on,
Got me all
Carol.
confused there. Ordinance number 2018-16 is an ordinance amending minimum and maximum salaries and pay rates for designated officials and employees of the Township of Pequannock regarding the chief financial officer, and I would just like to note that I've updated the ordinance so that it consistently says chief financial officer.
Good.
All right.
Are there any comments? No. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone in the audience has questions or comments on this ordinance? Please come to the microphone, identify yourself for the record. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2018-16.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Next on the agenda is public hearing on ordinance 2018-17. Ms. Marsh?
Ordinance number 2018-17 is an ordinance amending Chapter 152 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Pequannock and clarifying sewer connection requirements.
Are there any comments from council?
And this is just cleaning it up because one said 2 years and one said 3
Right.
years.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
And this says 3 years in it.
So now they both say 3.
Yes.
Nope. I'm good.
Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a
that
motion.
Perfect.
The other person
Second?
can second it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If anyone in the audience has questions or comments on this ordinance, please come to the microphone, identify yourself for the record. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make that motion to adopt ordinance 2018-17.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Next on the agenda is the introduction of ordinances. Ms. Marsh, we have one.
For the council's consideration, ordinance number 2018-18 is a bond ordinance providing for water utility infrastructure improvements in and by the Township of Pequannock in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $225,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $213,750 in bonds or notes of the Township of Pequannock to finance part of the cost thereof.
And we already ran through this with Mr. Brewer's management report. Does anybody have questions for him?
How long is this bond for?
That's a good question. I don't know.
And what interest rate are we paying?
We wouldn't know until it was actually funded. The bond will be for the lifespan of the improvement. I would anticipate 15 years is typically the average. But as far as the interest rate, until the authorization is actually funded, we don't.
The going rate must still be low.
It's starting to creep.
Yeah, but creeping up is still decent.
Notes are going around 2% plus or minus based upon the net interest cost.
So this is a debt in the water utility for 15 years.
Yes.
On top of the other debt that we have in there.
That is correct.
I'll try to water my lawn more.
Emerald lawns.
Contribute.
You like emerald lawns.
And again, this is for a very specific instance. It's to fix the water main break.
Correct. Unfortunately, as a result of the emergency water main break that occurred earlier on in July, the need arose to fund it based upon the current finances of the water utility and analysis done. We don't have the cash on hand or the budget to be able to do it. So unfortunately, this is the need.
Okay.
This has to be done.
So.
Public safety and welfare.
Right. Our infrastructure is
Aging.
needs to be updated, or what?
Yes, it
I need to start looking at this.
The budget for the future.
Correct. In 2017, it's my understanding that several appropriations were canceled in order to keep the water utility self-liquidating. As the council is aware, we're completing two very important and worthwhile projects, but that includes approximately $5.5 million of new debt. We have this, we have costs increasing, so one of the first priorities for the chief financial officer, who starts next week, will be to do a water rate analysis that will be ground through and ultimately discussed with the council.
Scary thing.
And this happened 7 years ago in the same location, and it's got a lot to do with the type of soil that's in that area, and with the new piping that we're putting in there, it's going to be plastic instead of
Right.
what we did 7 years ago. As we know, it didn't last very long, so hopefully that'll rectify
Hopefully in
this
2025, we're
problem.
not here again.
Yeah.
Correct.
Does that have to do with heavy trucks and stuff going over things there, or what? No?
It's acidy, or?
It's highly acidic soil because of the farming and the type of soil that it is there. We have primarily sandy soil in Pequannock Township. That's an area where there's a lot of clay, and just the nature of the ductile iron pipe. And
So the plastic should be much better.
we're hopeful that then the whole run is going to be plastic, but a good stretch will be. So hopefully that will decrease the propensity for deterioration.
Okay. Is there a motion to introduce this ordinance on first reading?
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2018-18.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. The next agenda item is resolutions. Ms. Marsh.
Beginning with Resolution R 2018-134, appointing members to the Economic Development Committee. 2018-135, appointing the local registrar for the Township of Pequannock for a 3-year term ending July 24th, 2021. 2018-136, certifying that members of the governing body have reviewed the annual report of audit for the year 2017. 2018-135, authorizing the township clerk to waive fees for licenses for festivals, carnivals, exhibitions, and shows issued to not-for-profit organizations based in Pequannock Township.
That's 137.
Oh, 137, sorry.
That's okay.
I got new glasses, I can. R 2018-138, waiving the fees for a skate park fundraiser. That was the one that was approved last council meeting. 2018-139, authorizing payment in the amount of $8,378.90 to David Holberg for accumulated leave. 2018-140, authorizing a $40,000 bid threshold. 2018-141, authorizing the use of competitive contracting for the selection of professional and/or other services. 2018-142, accepting a deed of dedication over a portion of properties bordering on Mountain Avenue. That one is 96 Mountain Avenue. 2018-143, authorizing the purchase of a Ford F-550 utility truck and Stall Challenger ST service body through the Morris County Cooperative Pricing Council. 2018-144, authorizing the purchase of a Ford F-350 regular cab gas 4x4 pickup body through the Morris County Cooperative Pricing Council and the 8-foot truck craft body through the New Jersey State Contract. R 2018-145, authorizing the purchase of a Western Star 4700 SB single-axle cab and chassis through the Educational Services Commission of New Jersey Cooperative Pricing System, which was formerly the Middlesex Regional Educational Services Commission. And R 2018-146, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the July 19th, 2018 bill list.
I'm sorry, Carol, could you read that whole thing again?
Can you start over?
Explain what the truck is?
Nope. Nope.
Are there any comments on the resolutions from council?
I have one comment. I looked at the truck and the accessories going in the truck.
Yeah.
I was just a little surprised some of the stuff going into the trucks.
Got a lot of stuff.
We value our employees, but, electric, remote start, AM, FM, CD players, tinted windows.
Who uses CDs anymore?
I don't know, that's what they got.
It probably comes in it. It's probably standard.
I don't know about that, it looks like they.
But that was my only question too, is do we need all that stuff? And did we need all these utilities?
I don't want people to misinterpret what we're saying here. I mean, if it comes standard or that's the only way you can buy it, okay, I understand. But if we're ordering these things special with all these neat gizmos in it, then that's a whole nother story.
I don't know. My question here is, it looks like there's a AM/FM CD radio with sync for $235, and then 4 lines down it says premium electronic AM/FM stereo with single CD player and clock for $275. We're only getting one radio in the truck.
No, they got one in the back seat.
I don't know why we're getting charged twice. That's
I look at these things a little bit.
That's on 143.
Right, I saw that. Yeah. You need to look at it a little bit
Factory
closer.
options.
Well, is that actually the invoice or is that the bid?
Yeah. Do you happen to know, Adam? He probably doesn't.
Let me take a look. I may know, I may not know.
Oh, wait a minute, it looks like maybe the radio's $550, and then the second radio's $275.
Well, I'm glad you guys can read that.
And they also have 2 lines for customizable speed limit, both at $80.
Right, I was like, what is that?
And they aren't well listed under factory options.
What happens is, in order to use the Cooperative Pricing Council, the way it works
You
is...
gotta buy accessories.
Essentially there's a menu. And the entire document enumerates the menu of the things that can be ordered.
It doesn't mean they were ordered.
So if there's specific questions, Mr. Cole or anyone else, what are we looking at?
Well, it's R 2018-143, and I only noticed it on where it says factory options. You go back to the middle of the page, 585 is the number. It says AM/FM CD with sync, and it looks like it's 550. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 lines down, 585 again, premium electronic AM/FM stereo with single CD player clock for $275. And by no means am I,
Well, and those are, again...
nitpicking what's going in these trucks. I just want to make sure we're only paying for one radio.
The list of all of the options are not necessarily the options being exercised in the purchase.
Okay.
This is the menu.
This is the whole menu. So, and these are the things that would be included, and these are the things that are additional. We don't know what they pay.
Those are the things that could be. The last page, which is for the body,
I think we have some questions that need to be clarified.
if the council would prefer to pull the resolution for further
I
discussion,
just want to know how much the truck's costing us.
$21,214.
No, that's the
That's the body.
That's the body.
The truck is costing you $42,424 for a Ford F-550.
In total, including the body and
It
the...
sounds right.
No, the cab is $21,000. The body is $21,214. The cab is $42,424. The total cost is $63,638.
Well, that's
listed on the resolution.
For an F-550. My only question is, why are we going with V10 gas and not diesel? Are other...
Because we have gas at DPW, we don't have diesel.
Oh, there you go.
And again, and just for the benefit of the record, all of this is consistent with the capital plan and the recommendations of the department. So I'm right now following through on something I
Right.
participated in the generation of.
Right, we approved this during the budget.
We're just questioning.
Yeah, this was in the budget.
I think it looks more complex than it should.
Right. And again, the purpose in providing all the backup documentation was so you could see what exists on the contract.
Well, I do think it's pretty clear, at least on the first one, like it says, the base price is 36 and change, the total's 42, because if you take the 47 options and you add it to it, that's your number.
Right.
So they did get all those options.
Okay. But maybe not the additional. I'll have to check.
Okay, can we table this until we figure out what's going on here?
Whatever you guys
That's fine.
If the council sees
Yeah.
fit, I would just ask for a resolution to remove it from the consent agenda and to be tabled for the future.
A resolution to remove it from...
Can we have a motion to remove it?
Yeah, make a motion, Rich.
We do want to be careful.
Council, am I wrong in that?
Yeah, it's a motion, Carol. Motion to remove it, and then we'll vote on the consent agenda without.
Okay, so...
You get a motion?
Right, so we want to make a motion to remove 2018-143 and 144, just so we get some clarification.
Right.
So only because we want clarification on what exactly is going on here.
What about?
And just to be clear, there are 3 vehicles being acquired.
Okay, I'm sorry, and 145.
Yeah, all 3 vehicles.
Do we have a second?
I'll make that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who?
Rich motioned for 143, 144, and 145.
And if you need a second, I'll second.
Yeah, and second would be
Just for clarification.
Councilwoman Florence.
Okay.
Right, we're just asking for clarification.
Okay.
That's right.
fine.
And if I could just have a yay or a nay?
Yeah, we're
Vote?
not,
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
we're not making it, we're not trying to make this harder than it should be.
Just want to make sure you're not getting ripped off, right?
We're watching taxpayers' money.
So just for efficiencies, the agenda came out on Friday, if we could kind of get these ahead of time, just to move business along.
I'll circle back to the department head and ask for commentary and a specific memorandum explaining what is and is not included specifically
Right.
why.
Did everybody get that?
And what
We
is-
get the agenda early, we should review it early, and try to get those answered just to move business along.
Yep.
Because we only meet twice a month. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments on any of the other resolutions?
Nope.
Okay, so can I have a motion to adopt the resolutions that are left?
Okay.
Go ahead, you go for it, Rich.
You do it.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolutions R 2018-134, 135, 136, 137, 138, 139, 140, 141, 142, and 146.
You got it, man. I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. There are no items for discussion tonight, so we're just going to go right to reports and notices. You see on there was an appointment to the library board.
Yes.
Did everybody see the letter from,
Yeah.
she said for her recommendation for future replacements? I thought it was really good for just council to put in back of your mind to reconsider, like a younger parent, because I guess, the board is getting a little older, they want some fresh blood, and that came from the recommendation right from the board. So I think that's something just to remember as you go forward, because there will be people leaving in the future, probably in the near future. All right. And anybody have comments on the other 2 items? I thought they were highly interesting.
Yeah.
And something that we should maybe put for an item for discussion.
Can you shed a little light on the,
Yeah, I don't know,
There was
Bob, is
2
there
of them.
anything, have you read those? There's about the interest arbitration for firefighters,
and police?
and then that sounded interesting, like we should really delve into this a little bit. And then the other one was about, I guess, insurance with cancer.
They're both coming to us.
Yeah.
with Recommendations from.
Yeah, and they both look really good, but I really would, before I just, rubber stamp it, I'd like us maybe put it as an item for discussion next time.
Yeah, and if you want me to give a brief explanation, I'm prepared to do that.
No, go ahead, if you can, yeah.
Just for the benefit of the audience, the township is a member of a joint insurance fund. The joint insurance fund is a member of something called the MEL, which is the Municipal Excess Liability Fund, which includes several joint insurance funds or about 200 public entities. The MEL has a recommendation that there be a resolution adopted opposing legislation that's currently in Trenton, and the legislation essentially establishes the requirement that the township be responsible for individuals who are firefighters who have had certain cancers. And the challenge for the legislation is that it's not that the township is against and not that the MEL is against individuals who volunteer, give their service, and potentially end up with an impact as a result of that service. But the way the legislation is currently drawn, it's all cancers. It's not specific to those encountered by
That are known.
volunteers or known reason. It doesn't include a statute of limitations. It changes the legal framework for the township and the insurance fund to review or refute the viability of the claim And ultimately, the financial impact on the township and ultimately the financial impact on the residents would be significant because it was caused the insurance premiums to go up significantly. So it's not that the MEL is against taking care of the volunteers. It's almost as if the legislation is a little aggressive in terms of how it addresses things. Other states have tackled some of the issues in a little bit more of what I'll describe as responsible way to limit the exposure to the public entities, because ultimately it's going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then one of the other resolutions going around is a resolution supporting the reestablishment of the 2% arbitration cap on interest arbitration awards to unions. Prior to 12/31/2017, anytime a collective bargaining group that had rights to interest arbitration went to interest arbitration, the arbitrator was limited to a 2% maximum award based upon prior year's appropriations. That sunsetted at the conclusion of 2017, so in the interest of arresting costs and salaries, a number of communities have adopted a resolution supporting that. So if the council sees fit, it can be scheduled for further discussion, or I can schedule the resolutions for consideration at a future meeting.
How's everybody feel? Dave?
I think it'd be addressed.
I think it should be addressed.
I do too. How about you guys down there?
Yep.
And all of these resolutions are supported by the New Jersey State League of Municipalities, so the advocacy group on behalf of municipal government supports both of these resolutions.
Okay, well then we'll put it on our next next agenda. I thought
As resolutions, correct?
Yes, yes.
Something.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Finally.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next on our agenda is council reports. Councilwoman Florence Lynch.
Okay, the library board met. Actually, we're honored to have our library director here tonight, Debbie Maynard. Thank you for coming. And I wanted to thank the mayor for coming to the last library board meeting because we honored Dr. Jillian Hettinger, who is moving out of the area and retired. So thank you, Mayor, for coming. We presented her with a nice proclamation. She served 14 years on the library board and will be missed.
Definitely.
What else do I have? I wanted to ask you, I guess you're still working on this, Adam, the trailer that's behind the library. Have you had discussions about that? And we are working on doing something.
Is it going to be repurposed?
The area where the trailer is supposed to be relocated behind the Henning House has been staked out. Engineering work has been done. I've been assured by the staff that's involved that we will see movement soon.
Okay.
It's supposed to move by the end of August, if not sooner, so that's my goal.
Okay, great.
Okay.
And what else do I have? And the seniors met. I had gone to their monthly event that they had on July 17th. They had a guest speaker in, Dr. Monk, who's a neurologist, and she came in and she educated the group on Alzheimer's and dementia care, and it was actually very, very informative, and it was a good event. So the next one they're going to do, I believe, is in August, and that one they're having somebody come in and talk about Medicare to the group and just working through the Medicare system. So I thought that was interesting. What else do I have? I don't think I have anything else.
Summer.
I'm done.
Yeah, summertime. Councilman Hurd?
Okay, a couple of quick things. Open space. They are applying for a, refundable grant. It's for the 2015 NJDEP Green Acres Recreational Trails Program, and they're applying for $11,762.05. Basically, that's for the time worked. So that's really the amount of time that all the members have put in to do things like clean out the bushes, to plant our 400 and some odd trees that were planted. So I want to say that this reflects very well on all the members and how much time that they're actually putting into it. So that's one. Flood, I do have a couple of questions. Adam, maybe you can help me with this. So the 2018 grant application is going to be opened. We're expecting it to be about $230 million. Do you have any idea how much the pool was for 16 and 15?
I don't, not presently.
Just wondering, what does that mean relative to the last 2 years? You know, is that a lot of money? Has it been cut? Those kind of things. So kind of like what our chances are.
I can get back to the council and group with that information.
And then 2015, again, this is based on Jennifer's report, and she is excellent. I'll commend on that. So we have 4 homes that have withdrawn in writing. I don't see any yet for 2016. So I guess one of my questions is, why are they withdrawing? How can we get better and more buy-in so we can get these people up and out of the potential issue, which would be flooding? Is there something else that we can do? I understand that...
Probably monitoring.
Yeah, it's money.
Well, you know, as the
But what is
houses
the
go up...
issue? Did they give a reason? The reason has to be
Some of it
financial.
is housing, too. People have no place to go.
It's the cost that they
And
have
the
to
cost,
incur,
yeah.
you know,
And nowhere to live, right?
you know, for the next year, and then, you know, they get reimbursed, but they gotta have that
They
money.
got to come out of their pocket.
Right,
initially.
up front.
Right. Well, and then here's a long-term question. So as more and more people see the houses go up, more and more people are going to be interested, and maybe some of the old people that were on the other lists might be interested again. How does that factor in us going forward? So originally we had 10 groups that were put together, and over 10 years we were going to start elevating. So what if we have people in group 2 that 3 years later said, you know what, we can get money now? How are we going to deal with that dynamic going forward? Or what is our strategy for that?
We definitely have to take that in consideration, because suddenly they may have the ability to do it.
I don't have the money today, but
I don't have it today, but, you know, 3 years from now,
changes.
situation changes, then they have hopefully they can go back into the pool to get their houses elevated.
But does
But
that,
they can't,
I
they can't
don't-
drop out a second time.
I don't know if
know.
there's rules or regulations on whether or not withdrawal from 1 year precludes participation in the next. I know that as the process moves forward in the community, there's some fears being alleviated as people have seen what other
Right,
people have
they're
done. They saw what their experience was. You know, we're getting better at this. So I think we'll see a greater participation level, but the reasons that they withdraw could be any and few. I don't know. It's a voluntary participation program, so we can't compel them.
Is there any way, maybe we can get Jennifer at one of the other meetings to just answer some of these questions?
Certainly.
My only-
Because you know it's going to come up, so let's start planning.
My only concern is with that is you opt out in 2016, and all of a sudden you can do it in 2019, but we have 20 homes already on the list that we're going to go to grant for, and there's 3 homes now from 2016. Is that going to knock 3 of the 2020?
There has to be room on the list.
Right.
The stipulation.
And what we do is, as we, again, get better at this and move forward with the process, we want to put forth the most competitive application possible. So there's an evaluation process. FEMA's evolved, as this council is more than aware. They've changed the rules a couple of times. So unfortunately, I think it's something that's going to have to be taken in an application cycle by application cycle basis.
I think one of the things, too, is in the beginning, we had told people, oh, it doesn't hurt to get your name on the list, but they really shouldn't be putting, as we move forward,
They're
they
not
shouldn't
ready.
be putting their name on the list unless
Unless
it's
you're
ready.
financially capable.
Yeah, that's how you can
of
handle it
dealing
one
with this.
way. And then the other thing that I'm getting a lot of calls on is people are ready to elevate, and they have to find a place to live for 4 or 5 months at the most, and there is nothing
It's almost like
around.
we need a house or
And
two that we can rotate
And
people through.
especially if you have
Honestly,
a
buy a
family of
foreclosure or
5 and 2
something.
dogs and a cat, you know, they can't get anything.
There's nowhere to live.
So, and my understanding is that even though some of that money is reimbursable, if you need so much money for your housing, for your rent, for your lease, that comes off the money that's left.
It's a component, it's a total amount
Right.
available, and
To
that
elevate.
does come off. And
It
to your point, if
impacts.
people have pets, if people have other considerations, it's not like you can run down to the local hotel because that
Yeah, right.
is not allowed. So there are a number of challenges
Yeah,
associated.
so I don't know what we can do to address that, but I know that's a big concern. Like you said, it'd be great to buy a house.
They would, yeah, right, rotate them through.
I mean, a lot of other towns have done this around here, Little Falls, Parsippany,
Yeah.
Fairfield, so can we
I don't know
reach
about
out
as
to
big
them
as
to figure
us.
out
We're big.
What do they do? Can we steal some ideas?
I've spoken to a number of people in different communities to find out, even before I officially started, just to get my feet wet a little bit. No pun intended.
No pun intended.
It'd be more than your feet.
Yes, the pun was straight. The challenge is, as I mentioned before, the FEMA has changed the rules.
Yeah.
So it used to be something that they would pay for up front, and you could do it that way, so it wouldn't be so burdensome. And now it's got to be reimbursable based because of what they experienced at the Jersey Shore and in New Orleans. So, unfortunately, it is a process. I'll have a conversation with Jennifer. I'm sure she would love to make a presentation before the council as things are continuing to ramp up, and we're doing more and more.
Obviously, we want this to be as successful as possible. So, is there anything that council can do to help it be successful?
Start a bank.
Yeah, well, buy some houses.
Make a resolution to use Rich's money to start a bank.
To complement the community
bank.
and the council. The council has done a significant amount already. We've taken more of a proactive approach than some of the other communities have. Not to name the guilty, but I've spoken to my counterparts in some other places, and we're doing things in an effort to be more helpful to the residents than many.
But the worst thing is to have a neighborhood and have people left behind, because then it just changes the whole dynamics of the neighborhood. Right. I know.
Or for some reason they're ineligible, whether it's private insurance or some other dynamic. There are a lot of factors that go into this suit.
I want to make sure that we're prepared. And, in a perfect world, we're not going to have another event until every single house is elevated.
Okay.
Fortunately.
No whammies.
This is not the perfect world.
It's not a perfect world, so I'd like to start planning for the imperfect world now. Lastly, the review for the master plan, I'd like to put my name in for that. And that's all I got.
Okay, because Kathy and I are on the planning board, we cannot be on that committee.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask, too, if you need a second council person.
Well, then we
for
couldn't
that.
vote, and it would be useless.
Right.
I don't know what process you want to go through that, but I was going to say, Adam, if you need a second.
Yeah, whatever the council's pleasure are, I need two.
Okay, can't be Kathy.
Other than that, I work for you guys, so I'm
You okay if it's me
standing
and
back.
Ryan?
Well, I was going to ask if I could be on it also.
You guys can pick it out.
Yeah.
Because
Pick names out of the hat.
You're going to have to,
Go alphabetical.
Okay, you guys can decide.
Yeah, you guys decide. Rich and I have it easy on that.
Right, we have it easy. We don't have to worry about it.
All right, Councilman Cole. Ryan spoke up first, so he's definitely on it.
All right, so I was going to ask for the competitive contract committee. I was going to also ask if we've heard anything about the FEMA maps.
That's what I was going to ask the same thing, Dave.
Our expert has sent in his report, and it's with FEMA. Do we know how long it's going to be before we hear back from
whenever they get
FEMA?
to it.
I have not heard any response, feedback, or comments from FEMA.
Do they have
I'm not aware of the time frame.
Okay.
Could you find out what the time frame or what exactly has to happen going forward now? Or
I can inquire.
Please.
I can't make any guarantees about finding out because FEMA is an interesting agency.
Maybe our expert would know how long they actually have.
I'll ask Jennifer
Put her feelers out.
to get in, and I'll reach out to our expert.
Yeah.
Right, because it's been
Washington's a little busy these days.
The last thing that I have is, we are losing a business in town that's been here for 89 years. I was wondering if council would be considered doing some sort of proclamation or inviting the Jones family here.
Absolutely.
Maybe for the next meeting.
Do you have any idea when the closing's going to be or anything?
I think it's going to be the second week in August.
I had heard August 8th.
August 8th is the day. He said it to me at the
I got mine.
chamber meeting.
I think that's his birthday. I know
That's a good birthday present.
And I know we don't do, proclamations for everyone, but for someone that's been in business for 89 years, I think that's well-deserved.
I think so,
That
too.
the council does something.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Councilman Phelan?
I don't have anything because Dave asked the question that I was going to ask about the FEMA
Yeah, that's a good
maps. And things are quiet. It's the summertime. Right now, things are quiet.
Okay. The only thing I have is our hoedown is September 15th. I had some email exchange with Chilton Hospital because, again, they're doing their Festival of Hope the same day without considering, I know. But they are going to do it earlier. They are having the guest speaker, the gentleman, and I don't know his name from, jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. Remember we talked about it? He's going to be the guest speaker. So if anybody wants to attend, it starts in the morning at 9, and then it overlaps us by a couple hours.
And that day
Where is it?
It's at Chilton on the campus there. The hospital. Yeah, it does. They call it the Festival of Hope.
September.
I can circulate. The 15th is the same day. They promise next year to try to work with us a little bit better. Because their event is good and our event is good, and be nice that, we're at both events, but it's hard to be at both events. I'll try to stop by in the morning at least to show my face. And we have an Eagle Scout on Sunday at 2 for those who can attend.
Yes.
Spencer, Andrea. And then also there's an Eagle Scout project that's done at the train station. Looks really nice. It's done by Wisniewski's son. It's the original flower bed with the ballards and all that. And if you look at old photographs, it's really an exact replica. And he went up with Ed Engelbart to the quarry and actually got the pink quartz stone that goes around it. So it actually looks very nice. It looks like it's always been there because that's how nice it really is. So that's all I have. Next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. Frank.
Frank Spazzeri, 35 West Franklin Avenue. Ryan, in regards to the people that sign up on the list
For elevation.
elevations, when they do sign up, does somebody tell them exactly that it's going to cost X amount of dollars, or does anybody explain it to them? I think that would be important, because, I can sign my name up, but if it's going to cost me $50,000, I may not want to do that.
You sign your name up first, then there's a meeting that explains to all the interested parties what's involved, what has to be done, and then the people that want to go forward that say that they can't afford it or they'll go for funding, then there's another meeting, they fill out all the information, and then it goes to FEMA.
Right.
We need committed parties to package up and send to FEMA.
So these people that reneged on the deal, I guess, were they at a first meeting, or?
They would have gone through the process, and that's one of the questions I have is, so why did they drop out? Is it financial? Is it time? Is it housing? Because if we can start figuring out that, I don't want that problem to be our problem over the next.
Right, because you're going to have more and more coming along the line. Okay.
It may be that they're moving. It could be anything.
Yeah.
But we have to
Adam will find out.
And we should try to get the answer.
Yeah, right. Should try to.
I know she's.
Somebody should talk to them. And
The flood advocate, Jennifer McCulloch, is meeting with a number of residents to review it before they even move forward with the process. So we're trying to get people as informed as possible before they even have to sign an initial. But that's happening now. I don't know what happened in 2000.
But it would be interesting to find out why these people did.
Yeah, so we can
Like
I said, I think it's because in the beginning, everybody just put their name on the list.
Well, they didn't know what it was.
And they didn't know what it was.
And then you find out you have to front the money, then that's real problem.
Then you're in trouble. Yeah.
It'd be $120,000, $130,000.
Anyone else for public comment? Debbie, you came to visit us? Nothing to say? Library's rocking and rolling? Yep.
It's nice and cool.
Okay. Next on the agenda is minutes. There's minutes from July 10th. Did everybody have a chance to review them?
Yes.
Any comments?
Nope.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from July 10th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next on the agenda is closed session. I think we have items.
Yes, 2 items, 1 item of litigation, 1 item of potential litigation.
I'll make
Okay,
a
is there a
motion to go into closed session.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Everybody second.